Welcome to this full solution demonstration of Continia Expense Management for Microsoft Business Central. My name is Lotte, and in this video playlist you will experience how Continia Expense Management streamlines the administrative tasks in your company. After each video, the next one in the playlist starts automatically. Inside Business Central, the admin has the full overview of all documents in the role center of expense management. Here you can see all the documents and the status therein, so you can even as an admin see if a document is ready to post. If I open this one, I see the receipt, I see all the information, the expense type chosen, and I will now be able to simply go to process and post. The user can submit all their documents in the expense app. So once they have downloaded the expense app on their mobile phone, they're ready to report all their expenses, mileages, per diem directly into Business Central and send in flow for approval. In the app, you see we have buttons for new expense, new mileage, new per diem, and a new settlement. A settlement is a group of documents, so here the user can use it for either a trip, a project, or send in all the documents for a week or a month. You decide. Next to the new expense, mileage, and per diem, we have template buttons. So here the user can create templates and pick up the template whenever they have recurring expenses, mileages, and per diem. In the bottom you have open. These are the documents that you have started creating but haven't submitted yet. Could be a new settlement or expenses created from a credit card transaction. In history, you will be able to see all the documents you have submitted and the status therein. So let's start with new expense. When I open the screen and I have attached a credit card to this user, I will be asked if this is a cash private card expense or a corporate credit card expense. You then need to choose the currency, and all the currencies in here showing on the list are all the currencies available in Business Central. You can then pick the exact currency valid for your expense, and you can even mark some of the currencies with a star, meaning that this one will then be lying in the top of the list next time you create an expense. If you have set location on the expense app, it will automatically pick up the currency valid for the location you're on. So in UK, it will pick up British pounds. If you're in Germany, Spain, other countries, it will pick up the currency which is valid for that specific country. I then type in the amount, and I'll go to the other fields that I need to fill in. All the fields showing here are fields set up inside Business Central, so you can decide whatever fields need to be visible for the user to fill in. The ones with a red star is mandatory, so the user needs to fill in all these fields before they can submit their expense. Again, you can define that inside Business Central what fields should be mandatory. Today's date is always picked, but you can always change the date to the exact expense date. Expense types are set up inside Business Central and will be showing here for the user, so you can decide exactly what expense type you need in your specific company. Behind each expense type we have set up GL accounts, and again this is something you can do yourself, so you can define where should accommodation be posted. In this case I'll just choose food. I'll type in a description. And right now I don't need to fill in other details because there are no other mandatory fields. So I can simply just add a picture of the receipt. I can either take a picture right now with my camera in my mobile phone, or I can pick up a picture taken previously from my camera roll. In the bottom of the screen we have an option to split expenses on different lines. This is called add allocation lines. In here I can add several lines, so I can split my expense into all the fields available here. I can split it into different expense types, to different departments or projects, because these are the fields available in this one. But you can decide, you can either split it or separate lines in amount or percentage. So you can actually split an expense 50% for another department or project. In this case I'll just type in £2. I'll choose the expense type personal, type in a description, private. When I save this one, you see that it automatically deducts the £2 from the total amount, and my first line is now 5.90. I'll just save this one, and I'm now ready to send in my expense. If I want to add my expense to a settlement, meaning the group of different documents, I can do it from here as well. So I'll just swipe the bar down here to submit my document. For mileage, I'll go to new mileage, and because I've set the location on my expense app, it is picking up the address that I'm on right now. You can always change the address up here or just leave it with the one that it's picking up. The to address, you can either type it in or use the location button once you arrive at your destination. Google Maps is lying behind the calculation of this, so you see now that I have 3 routes, exactly as when you're using your Google Maps on your mobile phone. So I can pick up the route that I'm driving exactly, and it would automatically put in the distance down here. I can now change the date, type in the description, and now I'm ready to submit my mileage. Again, from the mileage you can add it to a settlement. So I'll just swipe the submit bar, and now I get 3 different options. I can either send in this single mileage, I can send and continue from, so if I'm going from London to another destination, it would then set London as the start address, and I can then type in the to address. If I'm going back the exact same route, I can choose the send and create return. So in this case, I'm going back this exact same route, and you see that it has now set London as the start address and the back Rockfield Road to the end address. If I'm going on a different route, I could always pick up one of the other routes saying I'm going on a different route on my way back, and then submit my mileage. On per diem, I simply type in the start date. So if I was leaving Tuesday at 8, returning Friday at 8, the system is automatically calculating 4 days. If I go to these days, I can change the allowances on all days by going into this one, and I could then, if I had lunch paid by the customer for all 4 days, I could then set lunch as not an allowance. Or I can go into a specific day and change the allowances here. Now I only need to type in the description and I'm ready to send the per diem. To create a settlement, first I need to give it a description. This one I could call Project A. And now I can create documents exactly as when I went into new expense. And I can type in all the information in here. So you see down here, I don't have a submit bar because I'm adding it to the settlement. You can also add documents lying in open documents. So if I have documents lying there, I can add these documents here. So I created a per diem and now it's added. I can save this one and I can easily pick it up whenever I need to add documents to my settlement. And once I have added all my documents, I can then send in the document for approval. If we go to history now, you see that I have a lot of different documents that I've sent in. And all the ones with the status submitted have a gray color on the left hand side. Once it's been approved, it has a light blue. And once the document has been completed, paid to you as an employee, it has the color dark blue. When the employee have submitted documents from the expense app, it will automatically be sent in Flow for approval. In the approval portal, the approver have access to all the documents. In here, he can open the specific document, see the receipt of the expense, and all the details, and then he can approve, reject, or forward. If he chooses reject, it will be sent back to the user with a comment why it hasn't been approved. For mileage, the approver will be able to see the route that the employee has chosen and the distance and the exact amount that will be reimbursed to the user. Inside Business Central, the admin has the full overview of all documents in the role center of expense management. Here you can see all the documents and the status they're in. So you can even, as an admin, see if a document is ready to post. If I open this one, I see the receipt, I see all the information, the expense type chosen. And I will now be able to simply go to process and post. The field showing in the app is set up under field types. These are all the fields available, and in here you can create your own field as well. You see that I've created my own field here, and this was the one showing in the app. If you want to see all the fields available in the app, you go to Configure Fields. And for expenses, these are all the fields showing in exact the same order as here. You can then add or delete fields, and these will then show for the expense user. If you want to set them to mandatory, you simply just tick the field here, and they will be mandatory, getting a red star in the expense app. To see what's lying behind each expense type, we search for expense types and go to the setup, and in here you see that the GL account for accommodation is 8250, and this has been set up for all the expense types created in expense management.
If your company is using corporate credit cards, you set up an agreement with your bank to send transactions daily into expense management for all your employees' spending on credit cards. First time you receive transactions, they will appear in unhandled inbox. You must link the credit card to the employee only once. Next time transactions for this card and employee are imported, the system will automatically create expenses. Once you have linked the credit card to the employee, you see that expenses are created and has the status pending expense user. The employee will be notified under Open in the expense app to see that there are expenses created from credit card transactions. When the user opens the expense, the amount, currency, date, and description is pre-filled from the transaction. The employee only needs to fill in mandatory fields and add a picture of the receipt before submitting the expense. Once submitted, the expense is sent in flow for approval. When we look at pending in the role center inside Business Central, you see that the expense has a receipt attached and has the status pending approval. The corporate credit card expense is now visible for the approver in the web approval portal. The approver can see the attachment and other relevant information ready to be approved. So instead of having to handle corporate credit card transactions only once a month, these will be handled frequently during the month when employees are using their corporate credit cards.